What do you think? You think we should close the hood and see if anything gets in the way? Welcome back, folks, to Random Rod Shop. We're going to continue on with this old binder. In the last video, you probably noticed that it felt like there was a skip. Well, there was. I filmed a lot that was in between starting making the pattern and welding it in. Once again, I don't have an excuse. I think I must have double tapped the record button, because when I went in to edit the thing, it wasn't there. So maybe we could do better this time. My son was out, and you can maybe see in the background, we put the hood on this thing. I had worked a little bit on the bottle during the week after work this week, and it occurred to me that I kind of need to bolt this thing together. Everything's getting tight in there. And so I'm like, you know, we need to put these inner fenders on and get this hood on just to make sure that when we when we make this stuff, it's actually going to fit and bolt up. So that's what we've been doing this morning. Been putting the hood on and, you know, tapping out rusty holes and taking out broken bolts. You know the story. So while he was here, I had him help me kind of hold things into position and mark it out. I know I told you that I wanted to use the factory fuse box, and you know, obviously I got to use the factory computer, and I wanted to put the battery, all three of those, on the driver's side, with the radiator bottle and the air cleaner being on the passenger side. I'm still wallowing around the air cleaner. Oh, that reminds me. You know, the air cleaner, the big long snorkel tube, you know, I remember, or I think I remember, the original intent of having that flexi hose on your air cleaner, you know, on a carbureted car, was to drown out some of the noise. When you push pedal down and, you know, you open those four barrels, other than me and you, most people didn't like to hear it. They wanted it quiet. So that is a sound deadening, you know, apparatus. Growing up, I thought it was a hot rod thing, you know, cold air intake. But it was more, I believe it was more about sound deadening. Fast forward to the, I think, fuel injection environment, and they discovered that snorkel could do other things. Now, and this is the intake off of, you know, I don't know if this is a Silverado or a Tahoe. They look a little bit different, but I don't remember which one this came off of. But you see this big dog knot here and this one here? That is to minimize resonance in the intake airflow. I think the technical name is Helmholtz resonator. And what it does is it dampens the return airflow coming out of your engine. You know, okay, what are you talking about? Well, think about the air comes into the engine, goes through the intake, goes, when the intake valve's open, it just flows right into the combustion chamber. Now what happens when the intake valve closes? That air is still, you know, there's momentum, right? It is trying to get into that combustion chamber. It hits a brick wall. Well, air is like a big spring, right? Air is compressible. So that air hits that closed intake valve and tries to push it out the other way, right? So if you think about it, you got other pistons, the air is wanting to go in, and on the ones where the valve's closed, the air is wanting to get kind of bounced out. So these big chambers is a way to kind of minimize minimize that reverse flow, and supposedly supposed to make the engine more efficient. I've read a few things on it, and I think the academic research would support it, helps it, it makes it more efficient. I don't know that it makes that big a deal. I've seen I've seen a lot of hot rods out there that just had a piece of tubing going from the intake to the, K&N air filter, and they seem to run all right. I didn't know if you was interested in that, but that's kind of the reason for this whole thing. Kind of an albatross, isn't it? I can tell you, this takes up a lot of space inside that. So I am seriously thinking of a piece of tube going from the intake, from the throttle body to the mass airflow sensor. This is future me jumping in here. I was editing the video last night, and it occurred to me that I don't think I did a very good job of explaining the GM specs on the inlet pipe regarding, the pipe between the mass airflow meter and the throttle body. So what GM says is you need 10 inches of pipe minimum between the mass airflow and the throttle body. 6 inches of that pipe needs to be straight. The next spec is you need a straight piece of pipe 1 inch after the mass airflow meter, which in this case, if you're using the factory, if you're using the Silverado factory mess here, you got about 1.5 inches. Actually, it's closer to 2 inches. Yeah, it's right at 2 inches. So, in that regard, you don't have to worry about anything, right? If you're using the factory box, you just need 6 inches of pipe, straight pipe, with 10-inch total between here and the throttle body. So, in our case, we've got at least 1 inch of straight pipe after the mass airflow meter. So, and it's more than 10 inches. I can assure you it's more than 10 inches from here to the throttle body. So pretty much, as near as I can tell, GM doesn't care how I get from point A to point B. So we're definitely going to get rid of this albatross of an intake pipe and see if we can find a straight piece of pipe, or find a little actually, probably what I'm going to do, I'm just order aluminum pipe off Amazon with some silicone elbows. And that should help out a lot. Now, that doesn't solve me finding a home for this big old thing here, but, it's just stubbornness. Until I get to the point it's just like it can't be done, I'm going to continue on down this path. Maybe a fool's game. We're going to do it that way. Okay, and in your timeline, this is gonna jump back to the regularly scheduled programming yesterday, and I'm gonna start working on what we're doing today. In my effort to keep the factory fuse box, I ended up whacking off about 6 inches of it out here. I mean, this is all I need. This is all I need for a fuse box. That makes it a lot smaller. So plan on bolting that in the fender, on the inner fender, and right behind it, we're gonna mount the computer. So I'm gonna turn the camera. I got a light hanging over the hood. I've been procrastinating putting the hood on because I knew it was gonna mess up the lighting, but I found some wire. We got a light hung up there. I'm gonna set these in here and kind of show you what I'm thinking. Okay, hopefully this will make sense. So this is the driver's side. What I'm thinking is I'm going to set the fuse box here, and I'm going to mount the computer back here, and the battery is going to set right here. That seems to get everything out of the way. The computer's, I can still use the same wires, hook into the fuse box. The connectors for the cab are over there and over here, so the wiring will all be short. Like everything else, there's, the rest of the story. Well, the rest of the story is these really don't want to fit there. I don't, you wouldn't have guessed that, would you? So, what I've decided, I'm going to extend this tray all the way back to here so that I get a flat spot for this fuse box to set on, and I'm going to open it up back to here so the battery will get pushed this way. I can't really push the fuse box much more this way, but I need the room from the battery so that I've got room to put the cables on and not have to worry about the battery, bounce it up next to the radiator. So we've got it marked out here, and we're getting ready to try to bend up the metal. This piece right here is tapered, so it looks like a, you know, it looks like a trapezoid. I don't know how much confidence I got that I'm gonna get the bends right the first time, but we're gonna give it our best shot. My intent is to cut this little divot out and move it back here so it still looks factory. And we'll butt weld it all in there, and hopefully it's gonna turn out all right. So I'm gonna move the camera back, and I'm gonna start trying to figure out how to bend this thing. I tried to make a template, and that's when I discovered that let's see, I guess it goes this way. That's when I discovered that it's not gonna, template's great for a general form, but that whole piece is gonna be wedged. So, let me get after it. Well, that's probably close enough for what we got going on. By the time I get it cut out of there and tweaked and bent, that's going to be pretty close. That edge isn't real happy. So we'll see if we can make it a little happier. Oh yeah. I think we can hammer that one into place. Okay, so all right, this got to get bent up. Now this one's a little easier because it's a pretty sharp bend. That top one was pretty rounded. I'm gonna have to get this bender fixed so that I can put a piece of pipe under it so we can roll, so we can roll some radiuses. Well, it looks good on paper, right? Okay. Well, I'm gonna turn the camera around and I'm gonna cut that hole out over there. So I'll get back with you. Well, that's disappointing. It looks like I got this bend about 1/4 of an inch off. Maybe not 1/4, but it's wrong either way. So we're gonna have to rebend this. It couldn't have been the easy bend. It has to be the sharp one. Okay, well, there ain't nothing but to do it. Now let's see if we can straighten it out. Well, there's too much bouncing on that. I need a table. Okay, let's try it again. All right, well, you can kind of see what the game plan is. So I think that is close enough that we can make that work. That gives us a nice flat ledge to put our stuff in, and based on the suspension travel, keep in mind I got the torsion bars loosened up quite a bit. So let me see how much suspension travel we have down in there. Oh my. Yeah, looks like we got maybe 2 inches. Maybe. And according to this, looks like we got about 6.5 inches. Maybe we come back here, we got about 6.25. That means that box shouldn't be a real problem. And that makes me happy. That should give us enough room to get this fuse box and this battery in here. And keep in mind that I still want to put the transition that came out up here. Hopefully it all looks all right. Well, let's get started. There ain't much left of that one. Well, I think that's going to work. I'm going to get the grinder out and the welder out, and we're going to see if we can at least get it tacked in here. Then we can come back and use the fitsy cutting butt and see if we can get it welded in. Okay, I think what I need to do now is to get this profile cut out and see how that's going to fit in there. Okay, so I think I've got it about welded in there. Still got some more grinding and some more touch-up welding to do, but I think I'm tired of welding. I've been at this for about 4 hours now, trying to get, you know, all of the dots welded up and ground down. So I'm done with welding on this sheet metal for a bit. I think what I want to do now is I'd really like to get this computer and the fuse box mounted. Make me feel like I got something done today. All right, I'm gonna take the camera off and I'll show you what we got going on here. And then I'm gonna, we need to put this up there and see if we can sort of eyeball what the, you know, what the bracket needs to look like. Okay, so there it is. Got the hoopy-doo welded in there. Should be able to put the battery up here, the fuse box, you know, in this area here, and the computer back there. So it's not Carl Fisher, you know, quality, but it'll serve for right now. I think Carl's a little better at this stuff than I am. I'm going to put the computer back on the tripod, or not the computer, put the camera back on the tripod, and I'm going to set the computer up there and see if we can eyeball and kind of get some idea what this bracket needs to look like. All right, let me get it set up. So I think what I'd like to do is get this computer mounted back here. It's kind of out of the way, and it gives me enough room to get the power from the cab back up to the lights. All right, I wonder if I can hold that up there and sort of get an eyeball measurement. You know, I think we're going to start with 6 inches. Let me see if I can find a strap. Now, the computer boxes, they actually have 3 mounts. So we'll have to make a, you know, we'll have to make another one that comes down here. But right now, I just like to get this first upright made. Figure if we get that made and it's close, making the leg up won't be that big a deal. So I'm going to turn the camera off for a moment, and I'm going to go looking for some metal. I'm always looking for metal. Let's see how close I got the bend. I don't know, I think I got it the wrong way. Or actually not the wrong way, but I think I got it too far. Well, it would have helped if I'd put it on right side, huh? Looks like I didn't get it bent far enough. All right, let's bend it a little more. All right. That looks like that might actually work. All right, let's make the other half of this bracket. And we're gonna have to make a plate so I can bolt that plate to this rear fender. Let's get the other bracket made, and then we'll worry about the plate. Okay, I found a plate. let me show you what I'm thinking. I'm gonna set this on there, and let me put the computer on the thing. I'm a little paranoid about welding anywhere around this computer. So what I'm thinking is we're gonna bolt that computer right there. That should leave plenty of room for the fuse box and the battery. And I can still get to the firewall, and there should be plenty of room to bring the connectors out and go into the fuse box. I grab a pen so I can mark these things. Actually, let me take the computer out so I can get some room. And I'll grab a pen. I'll put a couple of holes in there. That way we can bolt this thing in before I fully weld it, and then we can step back and look at it. Not that we would put it in wrong. All right, let me get a drill bit. Well, let's see if I can read this. All right, so we want to go to the 1, 2, 3, 4th one. I must have miscounted. There we go. That looks better. Well, I still miscounted apparently. All right. Probably the biggest problem is I couldn't see the numbers on there. Thought I could, but obviously I couldn't. Well, let's put the computer on there and see if anything looks reasonable. Let's see, which way does it go? All right, I'm gonna pull the camera back and we're both gonna look across there and see if it looks straight. Well, I think that might actually work. What do you think? You think we should close the hood and see if anything gets in the way? That right side looks like it may be just a tad close. I think it might actually clear. You can see in there about as well as I can. I wonder if I can see it from the side. Oh, there we go. I don't know. I think that's going to clear. There we go. Well, it looks like it's going to clear. If it don't, we got room to move it down. We still got a little more room before it scares me on that steering column or the brakes. You know, I never get as much done as I want to get done. But I'm happy. We've got a place for the battery, we got a place for the fuse box, and we got the place for the computer. It's getting late. I think that's all we're gonna have. That's all we're gonna have time for. It's gonna be a long night trying to edit this video and get it rendered. I want to give a big shout out to what might be my youngest fan, Wesley. His dad said that he's in front of the TV every Monday night, and I just think that's neat. I appreciate it. Subscribe, make a comment, share it with your friends. And until next time, I think we're going to go start editing. I don't think we got time to eat.